Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Hafide Zanpiro, welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry, and today we are talking about a grant project under the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. And here to share the details of the Marianas Writers Movement is the grant recipient Jane Mack. Jane, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Catherine.
You and I are both masked up here in the studio. Thank you for taking the time to share with us what I might say might be a passion project for you. What is the Marianas Writers Movement all about?
It's about writing. It's about supporting people in the community who want to write and who need community support. Writing is a lonely business, usually, but when you have other people writing with you or inspiring you or motivating you or just keeping you going, it's much easier. And so we're here to give support and encouragement to people in the community who have stories to tell.
What was your inspiration for writing the grant for this? I mean, first of all, writing a grant itself without even implementing it takes a lot of time and effort. Why'd you do it?
Well, I had gotten a mini grant a couple years ago from the Northern Humanities Council, and that had worked well, and I wanted to carry the project further. We do have some writers in the community. We have met, and then with COVID, all the forward motion kind of stopped because we weren't meeting in person anymore. So I needed something to motivate me to have some deadlines, because deadlines work, and also to get it out there and share more with the rest of the writers.
Now, I was trying to think before our chat about work that you've written that I might be aware of, because I was like, well, obviously she must be passionate about writing, and I couldn't think of anything. Now, why is that?
Well, I don't usually publish. I've written more than a dozen novels. Since 2005, I've participated every year but one in National Novel Writing Month. So I have a novel for every year, or half a novel. Sometimes they take more than 1 year. But you don't have to publish to be a writer. And this is one of the myths. People think, if you aren't published, you're not a real writer. And that is not true. Emily Dickinson, who is one of the most famous American poets in the world, coined the term the barefoot ranks for unpublished writers. She was a member of the barefoot ranks. In her life, only one poem was published. And so I don't feel bad that my work is not published. What you do see from me are things that I put in the newspaper. Occasionally I'll have letters, or I used to do book review columns, or and I've written lots of things for court and my real job. But my fiction writing is going to be published sometime later.
All right.
If at all. And people don't have to publish. That's the thing. People write for their families, or they write for themselves. Mm-hmm. They write because there's an urge to create. And so that's what we're here for, to encourage the people in the CNMI to have their stories, not just to broadcast them or to be show-offs, but to create, to identify themselves as writers and allow that passion to grow and to create something that's meaningful, first of all, to them, and then to their family, and then to others.
Well, one of the goals I know of this project is to really draw out young writers in our community. Why did you feel that was important, first of all, to target this age group?
Students are already immersed in kind of the world of academics, or they are looking for different outlets, and they are very creative. And I think if you start young, you will keep doing it a long time. One of the people who came to one of my workshops was a woman who graduated high school in the CNMI. And she came only one time, but she came because when she was in high school, she had liked to write. Mm-hmm. She didn't go to college. She doesn't have a lot of education, but she likes to write. And this is what I think students, if you start when you're young, you'll keep doing it. And maybe if you drop it for a while, you'll come back to it. And it's a great creative outlet. So yes, I think it's important for students, especially to understand that they can write. They already have the skills.
And that they can write for fun, because most of the writing they're doing is probably required by their teacher.
Yes.
And there's a whole nother reason for writing. So tell us, you had an essay contest for high schoolers. How did that go?
I was really happy with it. I didn't know how many students would participate. And I was disappointed that we didn't get any students from Tinian or Rhoda. It's always hard to reach out to the other islands. I did reach out to teachers there, but we didn't get entries from them. But we did get entries from most from Grace Christian Academy, who came out in force, and Saipan Southern High School also had a lot. And then we had some from Mount Carmel, Marianas High School, and Cagman High School. And so that was great. And altogether we had 79 unique essays. One person submitted twice, I think, because of the mechanism of submitting online. And I didn't catch that at first. I thought I had 80, and then I did catch it. And then
they must really like to write.
Actually, there were 81. I think it was just the submission process. And then one got kicked out because we had a minimum of 300 words, and they didn't have 300 words.
Ah, okay.
But there were 79 that qualified. And so that was really a great response, I thought.
Now, was there a particular theme, or what were the parameters for the contest?
Yeah, there was a theme. The theme was Stories Matter. And so I wanted them to talk about why it's important to tell stories or to write stories. What do stories mean to them? And everyone has encountered stories, and so we got a wide range of why stories matter. I gave some samples of what they could use, and some of them used the samples I gave in the instructions, but some of them branched out on their own and came up with their own reasons why stories matter.
And is there a common theme, or what was your take from what the students submitted as far as what's going on in their minds when it comes to stories?
I think all of the students took the opportunity to express themselves. Some were less involved in the discussion of the theme. They didn't probe very deeply, but some were very willing to share their own experience and their own emotions. Some of the students were in real pain, and they talked about how stories, writing their own story can help them sort things out or feel less alone. Reading other stories can make a difference to them. It can inspire them. It can make them feel less alone. Some of them talked about their family and how having stories that kind of told them about their grandfather they never met, or other relatives, helped them identify who they were as people in the community, or it helped them with their identity, just to know more about their family and feel connected to their past as well as their blood and their culture. It was very interesting to read them.
Mm. Well, we're in luck. We have a couple of students I reached out to who were willing to share their essays with us. So let's listen to that now.
My name is Jovic Tuquero. I am 17 years old and I am a student from Saipan Southern High School. Being a part of this workshop made me really look back into what a story really is, and that is why I wrote my own interpretation of Stories Matter. They connect us. 4 boys sat by the table nearest to the sidewalk. They were all silent at first until the first boy spoke out. "How was your day, guys?" The third boy replied with a smile on his face. "Bro, there was this old man who stole my clothes at the beach." The others started to chuckle. I tried to chase after him, but he was a bit too fast to catch up to. The second boy then said, "How could he have been faster than you?" The third boy laughed and replied, "Hey man, what could I possibly do when he took my sneakers as well?" The 3 other boys laughed alongside the third boy, soon revealing that they too had their clothes taken as well. Stories make us laugh, they make us weep. They can make us get angry as well. But most importantly, stories can bring us together. Stories help us empathize with others and let us know that we are not alone in our struggles. Stories can be passed down from generation to generation, providing a link to one's past and preserving one's culture. When you go out and meet someone in public, start a conversation off with a story. This is a great way of letting others know what kind of person you are. The way you sound, provide details, and set the tone of the story could persuade the person to find greater interest in you. You wouldn't need to be the one telling a story. First, pay attention to the speaker and understand what it is they are trying to convey in the story. A great way to tell that a connection between 2 people is formed is when they immerse themselves into the story. This is where they find themselves in this loop of interest that sparks a friendship between one another. A story can persuade others in a variety of ways. They think of the story as humor, a moral to be learned, or an understanding of the person. A story can bring many people alike together. It portrays similar values, goals, or experiences that others can empathize with. It helps us envision a better connection with others and shape a future friendship or relationship. Stories matter and they can bring the best or worst out of everyone. All it takes is a voice and a meaning, so what's your story?
Hello, my name is MaryGrace Legaspi and I am a 9th grader at Marianas High School. This is my essay called Stories Matter, They Entertain Us. Stories. Things that have been passed down from generation to generation. Stories are all around us, from what we've read for school, for fun, or gossip from our parents. I found myself resorting to reading stories on various sites during Typhoon Yutu, and it has been my comfort since there was no Wi-Fi to watch videos or do assignments properly. Stories are like a doorway to a parallel universe. The readers can imagine that they are the character in a story they like. That way, they can put themselves in the perspective of the character and have some raw emotions regarding the story. For some of us who cannot imagine themselves as a character, simply reading can bring us joy. From coming up with theories to crying over cliffhangers and sharing our favorite genres with other readers, they are also entertaining. I find it so fascinating how stories from long ago are still referenced. If I could, I would want to know how the first ever story started, and how it progressed as it got told to different people with different understandings of it. It's probably not possible, but it would be nice to be able to, especially since it could have been changed over the years because of factors like cultures, geography, perspective, or etc. Some of my personal favorite genres of stories are romance, fantasy, horror, or psychological stories that really make you think hard. The biggest satisfaction of a reader and avid watcher of shows and movies is when the live-action adaptation of a book accurately depicts how the book is like and follows the storyline properly. I haven't come across those types of movies or shows in a while, so I just stick to reading the book. I feel like the reason why stories entertain me so much is because of the thought process the writers must have had, and that it has elements that makes us feel the same way the characters do, or it gives us a chance to get creative and base our own adaptations on that certain story. No plagiarism involved, of course. In conclusion, stories matter. They have always mattered, and they are a great source of inspiration and entertainment for everyone.
Jane, in your opinion, as you mentioned, the theme of the essay was stories matter. Why do you think stories matter?
Well, I think stories matter for lots of reasons, but I think one of the most important reasons is the psychological reason that without stories, we don't know who we are. We don't know who the people are. We have a very narrow view of the world. And if we get more stories, we get a deeper understanding of the world. This is why it's really, really, really important to have lots of voices coming from a place or a culture or a time, because otherwise you'll just have one voice that dominates, and it skews the perception, and you begin to think that's how it was, when it was really that way for that one person. But life is much richer, much deeper, much more nuanced, and you need all the stories. You need all the stories to get a better perception, a better understanding, and life is about living and being part of everything that's going around you. So the more you hear those stories, the more you feel connected to the world.
Our guest today is Jane Mack. We're talking about the Marianas Writers Movement, and we'll be back with more after this break.
Hafaday, Olomwai, and greetings from the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. This is Executive Director Leo Pangilinan. This year, the Council celebrates our 30th anniversary, marking 3 decades of partnership with the community on a wide variety of programs that help us navigate our human experience. And we look forward to another 3 decades of doing the same. Would you consider partnering with us by making an educational tax credit donation? BGRTs and income earnings for individuals are eligible. And thank you for your continued partnership and support in making our program available.
Welcome back to Your Humanities Half Hour. We're talking about the Marianas Writers Movement, a grant project headed by Jane Mack. Jane, you mentioned that one of the things that I wouldn't say drives this, but that adds to this work that you're doing is that you feel the Marianas is kind of a unique place to write and has some great places to write. Where do you write?
I love the CNMI. It is a great place to write. And I came here in part because I wanted to write. I wanted to find a place where I felt inspired to write. And, you can't just wait till you're inspired to write. But if you are going to wait, this is a great place. And so I write at home, but I also like to write in cafes. And so the Saipan has, the Zoom Cafe and Java Joe's and Mango 6. And I like to write at Shirley's, which is a restaurant. But, they have Wi-Fi. They have big booths. It's a great place to write. I like to write at the beach. That's more notebook and pen. You can sit out there and just watch the waves and have the sand and be, just connected to nature. I think there's, I have written at hotel lobbies. There's any place you can go, you can write. And it's, this is a fun place. I really think that the CNMI can have a writer's community. And it's just a great place to write.
Well, we talked the first half of the show about the essay contest that you had, and then there were a couple of other activities under the grant. One of them was related to November, what's it called? There's an acronym or something.
NaNoWriMo.
What is it?
NaNoWriMo.
NaNoWriMo. Can you explain NaNoWriMo and how you helped facilitate that this year?
Okay. The grant has 3 parts. The first was the student essay part about stories matter. And that was to get the community kind of warmed up to the idea of writing stories. And then the next part was a workshop in October to kind of prepare for writing during NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month in November. And so the workshop, we held at Jotun Kidzu Public Library. We had Dora Borja Mura and Paul Mura from Saipan Southern High School help with that. And unfortunately, we didn't have participants. I mean, we had us and my daughter was there, but we didn't really have participants this time, and that was disappointing. But we all worked, and we all prepared. And so November was National Novel Writing Month. And that is every year, there since 1999, there is what's called National Novel Writing Month. It was created in Oakland, California during the time when anything was possible. And the idea is you write a 50,000 word novel in 1 month, and it's possible. People do it. It's an international event. They have a website online. They have forums. It's really fun.
Wait, how many pages a day is that? Or how many words a
It's
day?
1,667 words a day.
Okay.
So that's about, let's see, there's about 250 words on a page.
Yeah, okay.
So it's about
6 pages?
4, 6, 7,
Yeah.
6, 7
Okay.
pages a day.
That's intense.
Some people write every day. I like November because we have holidays, and I like to write on the holidays, and I can average 4,000 to 6,000 words on a holiday, and with 3 of those, that's 18,000 words right there. So it's really fun. And so we had the workshop, and we'll have more. We've had them in the past. I think the next time we'll probably do Zoom if this COVID continues.
Now, have you ever actually completed a novel or mostly completed a novel during NaNoWriMo?
NaNoWriMo? Yes, I have. In fact, I have I've done one every year except once.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, it's not actually. The first year it seems impossible, but once you do it, you realize you can do it, and then you can keep doing it. And people are doing it all over the world. And some of them get published. So, but a first draft is not something you publish. A first draft is just you telling yourself the story and finding the story. And then, of course, there's the editing process, which is totally different.
How do you deal with people, or certainly not like me, of course, but people who might be hesitant because they're like, you create this thing, it's like your child, and you don't want anybody to really, you're afraid it's, you know what I'm saying, it won't be everything you imagined, or when people want to change it, you get sensitive. And I mean, I've learned not to be that way in my professional life because everybody comments on what I write in my professional life, but when it comes to something close to your heart, what is part of the process here?
Right. Well, one of the things that you do in your first draft is you learn to give yourself permission to write badly.
Okay.
You give yourself permission to write badly because you're just putting it down on paper to try and find the story. And all words are good words, and so you want to get your 50,000 words, you want to find your story. And some of it is spinning your wheels. And this is why the community is so much fun and is so helpful and inspiring. On the NaNoWriMo website, they have forums, and there are teenagers on there, and they're always the most fun. The younger the writers, the more fun they are. And they will have forums on there where it's like, share your worst line, or what's your word that you use over and over and over, and people will say, oh my gosh, everybody is blinking. Every time they turn around, they're nodding. Oh, she nodded, he nodded. We walked down the street and nodded, And so it's really fun because you begin to see that when you give yourself permission to write badly, it actually improves your writing, and you get your writing done. And then once you have your draft, what you do with it is up to you. You don't have to share it. If you want to share it, there are forums and ways to help with that. And some people are more sensitive than others. When you're getting help, it's really important to get help from people who know how to give help. Because some people in their eagerness to give feedback don't think about what you actually need to hear. They just want to hear themselves. So it's, and you learn how to take what you need and leave the rest. It is, and And you also realize that maybe you're not writing for everyone, that there are audiences, and that's, the audience that likes this kind of novel may not like your novel because your novel is not this kind of novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, even though this grant, of course, has a deadline, I know one of the things you're trying to do is really start something that can go on and perpetuate through the website. Share with us about that.
Yes, we are. The biggest chunk of the grant is the website, and it's also the part that I'm least comfortable with because I'm not very good at technical things. But one of the things that's so popular about NaNoWriMo is that they have forums. And these are international forums where people from all over the world share or, during NaNoWriMo. And I wanted to kind of mimic that and duplicate that here in the CNMI where people have a focus on writing in the Marianas, can reach out to each other and share with each other. We don't have the forums up, but we do have a website up, Marianas Writers Movement.org, and you can go there. There's going to be fun stuff. We have cartoons, we have writers' prompts, we'll have word of the day, we'll have quotes, things to inspire. There'll also be a blog with articles about writing and about the writing journey and, before, during, and after the writing process. We'll also have a showcase, so people who are writing can share their works in progress or their finished work if they want. So I really hope people will come to the website and start identifying themselves as writers and enjoy the creative process.
And again, that is MarianasWritersMovement.org.
Yes.
It seems to me that what you've done here with this grant is really planted some seeds. You've got the young people involved through the essay contest, the National Novel Writing Month. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yes. A workshop and event, and now the website, the fledgling website. What is it ultimately you hope will be the fruit of what you're planting here?
I want people to identify themselves as writers. I want people here in the community to know that they can write. And that's the other thing. You don't have to write in English. Write in your language. I love that. I would love people to use their creative talents to start and create their own writing. And if they want to share it, have places where they can share it, get that out there so people can also read. I'm hoping we'll have a readers forum so people can talk about what they like to read, because reading and writing go together. So you want to be a writer, start reading a lot more, but also, write. It's just sitting down and writing.
Well, I really want to thank you for your time and for what you're doing on behalf of all writers and aspiring writers, possible writers out there. Any final thoughts before we go?
Thank you very much, Catherine. And thanks to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council for the grant.
We've been chatting today with Jane Mack. She is leading the Marianas Writers Movement, which, as she has expressed, she hopes will gain momentum. Check out their website, MarianasWritersMovement.org. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.